Okay, let's get started. It's good to see you all. Beginning with the feet together and the hands on top of the head. Let's take the hips in nice big circles, starting slow. Rolling around the feet. As though there's a rope pulling your hips around in the circle. And one more. Changing directions. Taking your time. Letting the torso just sort of roll as a counterbalance. And one more. All right, widening the stance a bit, starting with the hands on the hips, rolling the pelvis back as we sink, raising the pelvis up to vertical. Drawing the belly to the spine, raising the head neck, keeping the back straight. The weight should be distributed evenly between the toes and the heels, so we're not leaning too far forward or back during this, trying to get that balance nice and neutral. If you want more of a challenge, you can bring the hands to the center. And more challenge still, the hands can come behind the ears. And one more. Very nice. Hands back to the hips. Start the same, lean forward, lifting, looking to the ceiling. Forward and turn. Two more. Last one. Very nice. Narrowing that stance a little bit. Belly still drawn to the spine, back still straight as we sink and then raise. Body arcing forward, lifting, folding back. Two more. Widening the stance a bit. Back parallel with the ground. Turn and look past the hand. It's okay to have a slight bend in the knees. Feel the body roll and pull. Once again, the weight should be even between the heels and the toe. And now 10 more in the swoosh. Last one. And back up to standing. Feet about shoulder width, hands on the hips. Start with the great big hip circles, just like in our first exercise. And now we're going to add in that swoop. Big roll. Make sure some bend left in the knee and through. Big complete circles. And one more going this way. And back the other. Remember to focus on bringing the body all the way around the base. Relaxing the breath. And two more. The last one. Okay, shake that out for a minute. Next up, in a nice relaxed stance, focusing on that right leg, working on external rotation. Grabbing the ground with the foot gently, drawing the body in, around, and out. Paying attention to how that very light foot grab helps dictate the size of your circle. From there, adding in the belly draw, knitting the clavicles, and raising that head neck. And switching sides. First couple circles, relax into shape. The legs wake up. Adding the foot grab. The belly draw to stabilize the hips. The knitting of the clavicles to take pressure off of the chest and heart. And that raising of the head and neck to give all that a place to go. Drawing complete circles out, around, and in, out, around, and in. And on that next circle, starting our figure eights. Paying special attention to the part of the circle that comes around and back and transfers over to the other side. From there, bring the focus to that very gentle foot grab. The umbilical draw, chest knitting, and head neck raise follow. Relaxing back around and settle in neutral. Going back to our first leg, starting in nice small circles. See how the structures adapt to the roll. Find a continuity of that flow. Try to make your circle a little more pronounced. Then add in that foot grab. Pay attention to the muscles that come online as the foot gently engages the ground. And try to feel how far of your leg you can get sensation just from drawing from the foot. When you kind of max out on that reach from the foot, then start focusing on the belly. And try to get the foot draw and the belly pull to work in unison to amplify that feeling from the ground. Switching legs, same project. Foot first. See how far you can carry that. And then drawing the belly to follow. Once you've gone as far as you can with the foot grab and the belly draw, then play with that knitting of the clavicles. See what happens as you create a bit more of a concavity in the front. See if that allows that belly feel to go up just a little bit higher towards the chest. And the second thing's reach right around here, right on that heart area. Start drawing that head neck up so that pole doesn't get lodged in the chest, so you can travel up and out. And continue to work on this, arcing into our figure eight. If the shape is still challenging enough for you, that's totally cool. Just play with the shape. Play with that circle side to circle side. You can hang out there for quite a while and still work on new issues, new problems. But from there, start playing with those postural elements and just play with how far you can draw movement up with the smallest amount of force. It's the minimum you can do to create a pulse that travels all the way up through your body. Relaxing back to the middle. Breathing in. And drawing down. All right, shake it out for a second. Get a sip of water if you need it. Are there any questions or requests from this week's training or last class?
Awesome.
Yeah. When did I do those? I think I have a filmed lesson of those from one of my first 3 weeks of teaching Taiji online. And so you can probably find a refresher there, and I'll try to bring those back in as soon as it feels appropriate with everything we're doing right now.
All right. I didn't know if there was like a new like little kind of adjustment that had been made for.
Yeah. Again, Eric, let me try to bring that in on Wednesday if you're here at the very latest. Okay? Cool. Yeah, Maujadi, the creeping kitty that Eric was talking about, is one of the more complicated movements in the form, and it's definitely worth going back over, but there's a lot happening with it. And today, I want a bit of work again on just how we step Okay. Going back to feet together, arms relaxed to the side. We're going to do a little review of the stepping practice we did on Wednesday night, just kind of refresh that for a minute. Let the weight rock forward and back. Relax your breath. Let your body settle. The knees sink, the belly softens. You're melting into the ground just a bit. And from here, we're going to stack our bodies back up. So the feet grab slightly. It's not a strong grab. It's just enough of a grab that you feel the arch of the foot, that inside part of the foot, draw up just a bit like a suction cup, which creates stability in the middle and also flanges a little bit of the weight out to the little toe side. As the feet engage, pay attention to muscles of the lower and upper leg follow in that engagement. And try to feel how high in your structure you can carry that feel of pull. For a lot of us, it's going to kind of cut off here around the level of the umbilicus, right? And so to correct for that, you gently draw the belly button towards the spine. And what that's going to do is bring my hips slightly back in the rotation to neutral. I'm not going for tuck, right? All I want is the hips draw in just enough that the abdominal muscles can do their job in stabilizing the front. The quads can do their job in taking pressure off the knee. And I can begin to feel something of a draw down the quadratus lumborum, the muscles on the side of the spinal column, as the pelvis achieves a kind of suspension. If you're looking for an exercise to really play with this, my favorite is wall sit. Just find a nice comfy wall with the feet at about shoulder width, toes in parallel on the outside aspect of the foot. Belly button draws towards the spine, and then pull the hips maybe a centimeter away from the wall so you get some suspension and drop in that lower body. And that will help you feel really quickly what's holding the pelvis up and how you can work in a very subtle way to change that alignment. So it's an exercise that I do every day, and it's been valuable. So again, from here, the umbilicus draws towards the spine just a little. The belly draws, and as that belly draws in, it almost feels like the hip relaxes and sinks down as it reaches neutral. In doing so, I can now feel a draw from my feet travel up through my thighs into my belly and begin to sort of percolate around the middle of my torso. To get things to move a little higher, I knit those clavicles together. That creates that concavity in the front and splays the scapula in the back. Now I can feel that pulling all the way to my chest center. And then I raise that head neck at the very base of the skull, that occiput. And that allows all of that pressure to just kind of gently flow up and through so nothing is stuck in my body. Hang on there for a second. Very nice, everyone. Now that everything is stacked and relaxed, we're going to bring the weight over into our right leg. And just like in Wednesday's class, we're going to do this with the feeling of lifting, drawing, pouring, and to a lesser extent, gently pressing. What that press is going to do is create space in this left hip so it can be more responsive as it draws cross-body to the right shoulder and the foot raises from the middle just a little bit, back down, relax to neutral. Run through your engagements at whatever pace feels comfortable, feet, belly, chest, head, neck. The weight lifts, draws, pours, and as it pours and presses, I get the counterbalance to raise my foot up, sink it back down, and shift to neutral. One more on this side. Feet, belly, chest, and head, neck engage. Feel that weight lift from the left, traverse the center, press into the right foot, and that left foot space to raise up from that hip, from that inguinal. And down. weight comes back to neutral. That belly feel is still there. As we engage the feet, draw the stomach, concave, lift, and this time to the direction. Feel that lift, taking your time up the right side, drawing across the middle, and pouring into the left. As that weight presses down, there's space that right hip to pull across body to the left shoulder as the foot raises and sinks. And try that side a couple times on your own. There's timer. So everyone's looking really good with their weight shift and foot raise. Now we're going to add in that step out, and from there we're going to go into our form. All right. So once again, just starting from neutral. Briefly running through our checklist, there's that gentle foot grab as the little toe side splays out just a bit. Umbilical draw towards the spine, concaving of the chest, raising of the head and neck. From here, lifting the weight up, over, pouring down, and as that weight pours and presses, the left foot can lift. From the middle, pulling the hip out to the side, sinking that base leg just a bit as you find your ground. Allow that weight to shift to the middle and take a second to find your balance. If you need to adjust your stance, that's fine. And now from this high horse stance, making sure once again that our feet are grabbing, the belly is gently drawing, chest is concaved, and the head and neck is lifting. There's a slight bend in the knees, and there's a feeling like the toes are pushing just ever so slightly out to the side, creating this arch of the structure all the way through, right to that lower dantian that plays right beneath the umbilicus. On the next inhalation, the legs begin to straighten and the arms rise. As the arms hit parallel with the ground, we change to exhalation. Now here's where things get kind of fun. The arms want to draw in, but I'm not just going to arc the shoulders in. I'm going to increase that knitting of the clavicles, increase that drawing of the belly. And so the four extremities are pulled in by my middle. Continuing that draw down that renmai, that sea of yin in the front. The hands wrap the knees, pulling them to that stable arch position. From here as we raise up, as my hands to the side, I'm stacking my body on top of my hips as I raise up. Softening the belly and chest, which are less of an extreme as I draw in. Hands and chest come together. Roll, press, and relax. So the part that I really want to focus on first is what's happening in the center to create this shape. And how does that draw in the center safely guide us through the shape as we transition down and into our lift to press. Are there any questions on that sequence before I start breaking it down? All right, let's give it a look. So when I use the word initiation, what that means, is just I'm starting the movement from that point, right? And so as I arc the arms in, I'm not starting at my hands, my elbows, my shoulders. I'm starting at the middle. That collapse begins here and then draws out and out and out until it's changing the shape of my fingertips, okay? So again, those feet, that high horse, belly draw, foot grab, neck raise, all that good stuff. On the inhalation, everything's rising up as the arms come to parallel with the ground, palms up. As I begin that exhalation, I feel a pull and a draw, my belly and my chest center. That creates the look of roundness as I go into this next movement. I continue following that arc more and more, and that's what draws the hands in towards that head and the hips in towards each other. Sinking down, drawing down that center line. As I stand up, drawing my knees to stable first, I want a strong base. And then from there, bit by bit, stacking myself on that base. So as I rise up, my balance is established. I can exhale again, sitting back down more comfortably this time. Drawing the hands to the chest, rolling, pressing. Now I'm ready to start my form. Let's do it once more together. Feet in that high horse. Relax the legs for a second. Foot grab, belly draw, chest concave, and head neck lift. On the inhalation to rise. Following the breath as we draw in. Exhaling, creating space. That space creates concavity. The forelimbs follow that concavity as we drive down the center. Round the knees. Stack the body. Exhale as we sit. Hands forward, body back. Drawing the hands and body together. Rolling both the shoulders and the pelvis back to neutral as we press out. Sitting down slightly. And relax. Any questions on that so far? Let's have each of you give that a try just a couple times, nice and slow. Good. How are the legs feeling? Good, Laura. As you bring the legs back out, make sure you're not drawing them too far out. As we draw in, the draw on the side is just enough to establish it's almost straight, just a little bit of an arch as I draw up. Good. The risk of going too far out here is that now I'm putting a lot of pressure on the lateral side of the knee. I want to make sure I'm just drawing enough that I can stack things on comfortably. And so the pull in shouldn't be knee intensive, and neither should the pull out. The pull in is just the hips close, the draw, just the hips relax back. There you go, exactly. Just like that, yep. A little bit of springiness, drawing back to neutral. Very good. Good, Laura. As the hands are here, draw the hands in, fingertips towards me. There you go. Then rotate as your body sinks and press. There. Very nice. Very nice. So again, from here, everything draws up. Part of the form is. I miss asking all of you questions.
Isn't it to kind of start that idea of the opposing relation between the opposing movements? Because like you're pushing and you're pulling from the back, and then you're raising, and kind of that cascading movement.
Exactly. It's to get an idea of those opposing forces, how they're relating to your body today, and put your body into a state of balance to then start the form. This isn't even the prologue of the form. This is the foreword about the form before we start in on the form, right? This is the very, very first little bit of hello, good morning, where are you? Now we can begin.
I love that. I also think of the word that comes to me as intention, almost like I'm setting an intention.
Totally, yeah. And that absolutely works too. And what's so lovely about this stuff is you can dive as deep as you want into, the meditative quality of it, right? The, Chinese philosophical and medical quality of it with the different meridians and how they ought to work. Or you can look at it purely from a biomechanical standpoint of, how can I best organize movement from, place to place, to structure. And any one of those perspectives will get you to the same spot. So long as you're being, and mindful doesn't need to be woo-woo, and, an amount of that is okay if that's how you see the world, right? But for this stuff, mindfulness is just taking your mind, turning it inward, trying to see to the best of your ability what's happening inside, quite literally, and then carry that into motion. And so, the point of this whole thing is just, how do you define balance for yourself? This first little section will help you achieve whatever that balance is, and you can carry that balance forward into the rest of your practice. Yeah, absolutely, Laura. Absolutely. Any other questions? It's looking really good. It's looking really nice. And again, if there's ever a day when you're super short in time but want to give your Taiji some attention, just working on that foot lift, the step out, and then this very basic rolling Qigong is quite a lot in it. And you can do just repetitions, forward, sinking, raising, around and through. There's all kinds of ways that you can play with the material. You don't need to know a lot of Taiji movements to practice a lot of Taiji. And any of the isolations that we practice in class, from the slicing to the pressing to the opening, all of this could be, a 10, 15-minute practice, any of those one little pieces. Okay? So
there's like subtlety in the, there's so much subtlety in these movements,
Right. And, in the end of it, there's about half an hour of form if you do it really slow, and that's just half an hour of just continuous movement. And that's lovely too. But, for all of us, if you're just practicing the first 3 or 4 movements and get those down really well, the rest of it's going to come pretty quick, far faster than if we learn the whole, half-hour section and then just start breaking it down from there. You're all doing really well. Let's go back to that opening and add a couple little things. Timer back on. All right. So once again, we're going to run through the whole spiel. Feet together. Let that weight rock. As your legs fatigue, your needs for this intro are going to change too. And it's important to be aware that it's not going to be the same model each time you run through. As you tire, you're not going to want to go as low. You're not going to want to go as fast. That's entirely okay so long as the quality of raise to sink, open to close is still present. Grabbing with the feet, drawing the belly, concaving by knitting the clavicles, raising the head, neck, and the weight lifts, traverses or arcs, sinks and presses. As that left foot's given space as it draws cross body to that right shoulder, raising that foot, relaxing the arms, using that central pole, that axial skeleton, right, of hips, spine, ribs, head, neck, to support this leg as we step out, sinking that base leg a little as we find the ground, drawing that weight to even, taking a second to make sure your feet are exactly where you want them, and then run back to that checklist to make sure you haven't lost anything in transition, that foot grab, belly draw, chest concavity, and raising of the head, neck. On the next inhalation, feel the arms raise like there's an air balloon under each armpit, inflating as the body raises up. So we're lifting from that middle, rounding as the chest concaves, drawing the arms in, drawing the hips in, pulling around that central axis as we draw down, pressing into the ground. The breath transitions as we pull the legs to a stable arch, continuing that lift up through the spine. That's why the hands come a little bit back for this one, raising up that dumai as we sink, sitting down just a little, and the hands meet. Drawing the hands to the chest as the body raises a little. And from here, watch my shoulders and hips. Both big joints roll a bit and press as I sit back down. Now ready to start my form. Before I go into my first ward off, I don't just want to roll to press, right? I want to make sure my body is relaxed. And so I stretch left elbow leftward, right hip a little rightward, and then roll that. So it's not just 1, 2, it's 1, roll, and I'm ready to go. So let's try that again. The hands are here. There's a little bit of stretch, roll. So the shoulders are rolling around, the hips are rolling the opposite direction, and that roll draws the foot up. I continue that same roll as I step out. That roll is the roll around the front leg and becomes the drill into that back foot. Is the hand and foot correct? Carrying that same roll now vertical in its quality as I draw up and over, pulling that left foot up, rounding, rounding, drilling. Same roll from the belly, reach, rolling up and over, drawing up to arc, and now stretching from the stomach, using that draw from the umbilicus to lift you up and carry you back down. And relax for a second. And so what I'm trying to illustrate here is that roll we start with is the same belly feel, just carried from shape to shape throughout the entirety of the form. There should never be a point where you lose that and have to recreate it, right? And that's quite challenging. That's one of the main challenges of Taiji, is how you take one movement, change it in all these shapes, and carry it from place to place to place. And that idea of constant coiling and rolling, of pulling and pushing from hip to hip, those figure eights, that interplay with the central line, these are all little tools that will help you better achieve that goal. And that's a big concept. So any questions on this before we do the form once more?
I just find that sometimes I begin to obsess a little bit about one area, and then I exaggerate it. And then, but your correction to me doing the form before was so good, because I see that I don't need to exaggerate each place, but actually just flow from one to the other.
And often you find answers by trying a slightly different version of the same shape, right? And so again, it's not that you've done something wrong if you lose that connection. It's just that now as you do your form, try to feel where that connection comes in, where it goes away, and how you can better encourage it from phase to phase. The aggravating thing on this is there really aren't any shortcuts. It just takes time and repetition and play with these movements to get that body feel. The good news is that if you do play with, like all of you who worked with the roll to press, and everyone was frustrated with this in the beginning, but as you play with it more and more, you begin to find those subtle connections, things become clear, and then you can carry pressure from place to place. The same is true of absolutely everything else. It just requires a similar kind of focus and dedication, right? So let's try it one more time, and then we'll call it. Feet together. Grabbing with the feet, belly engagement, chest softening, head neck raising. The weight draws up and over, pressure lifts the left foot, sinking as we step to neutral. Make any necessary adjustments, double check, making sure that all of your postural elements are online. As we inhale, feel that balloon inflating in the armpit, raising the arm as we raise up. As the breath turns from inhale to exhale, use that exhalation to begin creating space in the chest. That space is turned into that concavity, the shoulders and hips, that draws them in, draws you down. That transition of breath from exhale to inhale pulls the knees to stable, raises your body vertebra by vertebra, stacking you on top of your body, on top of your hips. Arms coming up as you raise higher. Exhaling creates that softening of space as the hands reach. Inhale, draws together. And then as we exhale, the shoulders and hips roll, press, and now we're ready to go. Drawing the arms left and the hips right. And exaggerate this, I'm going to make a much bigger circle than I otherwise would. Big, round, continuing that circle as the foot draws, continuing that same circle into our press. And reach, carry that same circle from the belly up and over, pulling the foot up, rounding to drill. Reach, roll, draw, step, round, to drill, reach, and that belly draw you forward as you stretch a line from your belly button to your fingertips, lifting your foot up, and then carrying that foot back down. And relax. Okay. Any questions on that? Sweet.
Yeah.
Please.
Just checking. So running to the left, and our first base leg for this number is leg, or is it the other way?
So as we roll, we have our press, our reach, our right foot forward, lifting up. And then as I sink,
Okay.
there's the draw to press.
So initially we have that little bit of stretch left, and then we're opening right.
Yes, so initially, let me do a side view so you can see more easily, Carol. So stretch one, and then the round for press. From straight on. One, round to press, and from a more angle, one, round to press. Does that help a little bit?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll either just keep getting the direction opposite or not and figure it out.
You're not the only one. Every single time I have to change legs on that first move. So
Like I'll still have a good flow to it, and I'm like, oh.
Maybe we need it from the back, Joey. We know the movement, but we don't know what leg.
Over here. There's the left hand, right hip. And once again. Does that help a little? Once more?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Great, great, awesome. And in class, if you want a thing taught with me facing away once, I'm happy to do that too. So just always, feel free to ask that kind of stuff. I'm happy to accommodate. Any other questions? Great work, everybody. It's great seeing you all. I let my computer charge for a few minutes as Fritz was in here on Monday and forgot to plug it back in. And we'll start Bagua in about 15. Again, thank you all so much.